how do I start this?
Together, Guardian.
So
Go haunt them as they haunt me.
for those of you who aren't familiar with the stream, if you're new to the stream, you probably wouldn't know, but I actually go to school over the weekends. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I go to school for ultrasound. I'm going to school for echocardiography, so I'm looking at the heart. I'm looking at the heart for like pathologies to make sure that it's essentially functioning the way that it should, right? And I go to school Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So it's only the weekend, so it seems pretty chill. But the Friday, Saturday, Sundays that I do go to school, I'm pretty much there for like upwards of 10 to 12 hours. So the weekends are like really, they're very much, when I go there, I'm there to work, and I'm busting my ass there, essentially. It's like 8 to, anyway, you get the idea. They're long days, right? And essentially how the lab portions of this work, there's a lab and there's a lecture, obviously. Lab is where we actually go in and we scan people. We learn about the heart in different planes of views. We get to look at each other, and we scan amongst the other classmates, right? So I'm using my classmates to look at their hearts and whatnot. And I can actually bring other people in too if I really wanted to, like bring in friends or family members or whatever. But that's not the point. So for the weekends, I guess a little bit more backstory on my particular school. So I can't really speak much for the week population of the school, during the people that come in during the week. But for the weekends, if I had to give it a ratio, there's about 8 women for every 1 guy you see. There are so many women at this school, relatively close to my age too, and I'm 23. And there have been women I've seen anywhere upwards of like 20 to maybe 26. Some of them in their 30s, but you get the idea. They're all pretty close to my age. Most of them are single, and I know this because they tell me, and it's like, what reason they want to tell me about it, I don't know. But so yeah, there's a lot of women. A lot of them are very much social, especially with me, because for whatever reason, a lot of the guys that go to my school, well, maybe a good 60% of them that you see walking around over the weekend, they're not very social. Some of them are really socially awkward. Some of them just don't like talking to anybody in general, which is understandable. You're there to go to school, you're there to get your certifications, and you want to go to work, right? Which is what you really should be going to school for in the first place. And then there's me. I don't have a problem talking to anybody, right? I'll talk to somebody that I just met, like, say, 20 minutes ago, the same way I would talk to, like, my girlfriend, for example, or my parents, or maybe even you guys. Maybe not my parents, because I talk to my parents with a bit more respect, but anyway. So I'm a very social guy. I'm easy to get along with, I feel like. So a lot of them confide in me, and a lot of them take my friendliness and they think of it as something else. You know what I mean? So a lot of them get very friendly or intimate, I guess. A lot of them like to flirt with me, right? So that's a bit of the backstory. So in my particular class over the weekends, there's 4 people, right? It's a 4-person class, which is kind of a blessing and a curse, which is kind of how this story actually came to place. It's a blessing in the sense that for our labs, there's only 4 people, right? And we have like 3 machines in our particular classroom to scan on. So that means we have a lot of time to scan and look at people, look at each other, practice with each other's hearts, just for the sake of having that additional practice that will end up used in the force when we get our certifications. We're finished with our externships, and we go out in the work field. You know what I mean? So it's good in that regard. Not to mention that we have a lot of we get a lot of one-on-one time with our instructor. So if we ever have questions, if he wants to give us any like additional tips or whatever, he has the flexibility to do that because he doesn't have like a 20-person class. It's just 4 of us. So he talks to us a lot. It's a lot of personal time, right? So it's a blessing in that regards. But for this particular story, it's a curse. Because, hold on. The 2 people that we like to scan the most because their hearts are relatively easier to see, they didn't show up to class today. They didn't show up to class all weekend, actually, for whatever reason. And I'm not going to get into that. So that left me and this other woman, whose heart was actually pretty easy to find, but it was only one person, right? It was just me and this other woman in the class and our instructor. So we had to find other people to scan. So we went and went into other classes. Tried to hook up with some of our old classmates that got separated into other classes at the end of the last module or quarter.
All right.
And they're doing their own thing to see if we could, borrow their hearts essentially. And it's kind of like a bartering system. Like I'll scan your heart. If you let me scan your heart, I'll let you scan like my abdominal region or whatever. You know what I mean? It's a trade. It's like a barter system at this school. So we're looking around. I'm trying to find somebody to scan, and I find like maybe three people or so. I got to scan this one white girl. She had this really skinny girl with a big old rack, bro, and it's like natural double D's. And I don't know if any of you guys are into ultrasound at all, but trying to scan a woman's heart and she has double D's, it's like one of the most uncomfortable things ever, in the sense that like it feels nice because your arm is like in between those things, right? But you like lose your hand in there, and it gets really like nasty and sweaty. Anyway, so I had to scan I had to look around the school for some extra people to scan, right? So I scanned a couple people and I had like maybe a couple hours left, so I went out and looked for one more person to scan, right? And I just so happened to run into one of my like old classmates that I haven't seen since my first module at that school, right? Because she got separated into another class that was specializing in whatever she had to get certified in, right? I'm an echo student, so I'm looking at the heart, and she was off, and she's doing like, it's called DMS. It's called diagnostic medical sonography, which is essentially everything that we're doing there, but her specialization is more broad. She's looking at more things, more so in the abdominal region, like maybe babies or something. So she got put into a class of people who were more core focused on the same specialist that she's doing, right? And I saw her. She was on a break with some of her other classmates. They had like a 30-minute break. So I approached her, because I haven't seen her in a while. I just wanted to see how she was doing. Then I was going to eventually ask her if she mind if I scanned her. Now, her name is, what is her name? Her name is like Laura, or like Lorena or something, but she goes by the nickname Lala because of her last name. I'm not going to get into her full name because you never know who's watching on the internet. But her name is Lala. And Lala is this, she's like this 5'6", 5'7", like former soccer player, straight out of Colombia, bro. She's kind of whitewashed, so she didn't necessarily have that super thick Colombian accent you would be accustomed to hearing. Renzel, please. You would be accustomed to hearing out of a Colombian girl. So, but you could still kind of hear it, so it was kind of cute. She had a cute little accent, still like a little whitewash accent. And hold on, what am I doing? So yeah, she's athletic. Obviously, she's smart because she's going to med school. I think she worked at like she's like a medical assistant, like a medical assistant at some private hospital, like doctor's practice or whatever. So she's making some sort of money, not very good money, because medical assistants don't get paid that well, but I guess it's better than like McDonald's or like a entry-level job, right? So she's got money, she's smart, she's like, her body is on point, you know what I'm saying? She got a cute little accent, really pretty face. And another thing about Lala is that she is very friendly, especially with me, because of the fact that I didn't mind talking to anybody, and like all the other dudes were super like they didn't want to talk to nobody. They were too nervous or whatever the reason was. They didn't want to do it. So by friendly, she got super comfortable with me, right? Like it would get to the point where like I'm trying to do some work on a computer in the library, and she like comes over and she'll try to like feed me grapes. Or she like calling me daddy. She like called me Poppy for whatever reason. She's like, hey Poppy, you want this pita bread sandwich, bro? It's got chicken in it. Or hey daddy, so did you do the homework? Just like simple things like that, right? She still did it to this day. Like when I saw her today at the library, she's like, "Hey, what's going on, Daddy? How you doing?" And I'm like, "Man, you really gotta stop saying that because people are gonna get, the wrong ideas about it." But anyway, so I'm talking to her, right? I'm catching up with her because I haven't really had the chance to like sit down and talk to her in a while. So we're getting caught up, and then I eventually ask her, I'm like, "Hey, so she's in a vascular class, so she's in a class right now that's focusing on scanning things like the circulatory system, like the veins, the arteries, where they correlate, where they originate at, and where they feed into in the body." So I figure they're looking in particular at the common femoral, they're looking at the lower extremity veins. So I was like, "Hey, if you don't mind me scanning your heart for about 30-40 minutes, I'll let you use my my femoral veins. I'll let you look at them later on tonight," or something like that. I traded with her, right, essentially. So she's like, "All right, cool." So we walk over to the lab, and we're just talking. We finally get to the lab, and I'm getting everything situated. I'm like, "All right, go ahead and get ready and have a seat," right? So how a heart scan works, let me kind of like explain it. In order for you to get a decent view of the heart, you need to get in between, essentially, you have to put the transducer like right in between their breasts, kind of like up against one of their breasts, really, right? For one particular angle, that's like the main, like one of the big ones that you have to do. That's where you're spending most of the time. Your hand is like right in between their breasts, right? And then there are other planes of views where you're like in their abdominal region. You're like right at the curve of the breast, at the curve of the I said lady breast, at the curve of the breast. That's where you would find another point of the view. It's all really, and the whole point of you putting the transducer in these particular regions is because it looks at the heart from different planes of views. So it's not a perverted thing. It's it's more so you can see you can see their heart, essentially. Like obviously, I'm looking for the heart in different planes of view, so it's going to be in like awkward positions. Even more so if you're trying to scan a woman, it's going to be super awkward for a guy to scan a woman. Well, not awkward, but it's as awkward as you make it. But if you think about it, you get really intimate with your peers. Like probably like 15 women at that school dinner because of how intimate, quote unquote, that I've gotten with these women as far as the scans go. Right? So anyways, I'm explaining to her the process because she's never had her heart scan, right? And I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna have to get in between here. I'm gonna have to get under here. I'm gonna have to get into your chest, and then I'm gonna have to look at your neck, right? So she's kind of like asking me, like, okay, so how am I gonna be like lying down? What am I gonna be doing? And I was asking her, like, if she wanted like a veil or whatever, right? Because essentially she was gonna have to take her shirt off for me to look at all the scan plane of views that I wanted to look at. So I'm like, all right, so I'm gonna be looking at this stuff. Are you okay with that? Lala's like, all right, cool, I don't mind. I'm like, all right, whatever. So in order for me to do this, you're probably gonna have to take your shirt off. Do you want like a poncho or like a cover to cover yourself up with? And she's like, nah, it's whatever, I don't mind. So this bitch just pulls her shirt off, right? And tell me why she's got on like Victoria's Secret grade like bedroom lingerie. You know what I mean? This girl is dressed up underneath her scrubs like she's ready to like smack walls with somebody at that school. I'm like, I didn't say this, but in my mind I was like, bitch, who are you fucking at this school right now? Like, anyway, that was like literally the first thing that went through my head, because you see this, it literally looks like something you would see from a woman who is getting ready to have sex with their significant other. Like the actual bra was somewhat transparent, so you can kind of see her. Anyway, so she takes her shirt off, right? And she gets on the bed, and she's like, how do you want me to position on the bed, right? So I tell her, okay, you're gonna have to go on your side. You're gonna have to lift your arm up above your head, and I'm just positioning her how I want her to be in order for me to look at her heart properly. And how do I explain this? She's like lying down on her side, right? On her left hand side. And she has to like, this would be a lot easier if I did have a webcam, huh? But anyways, she's lying down on her side. She has her arm like tucked in between, like it's like up, and her arm is like resting behind her head. It's kind of hard to explain, but it would be a lot easier to show you, but I can't show you because I don't have the camera. So she's lying down on her side, and she's comfortable. She got the pillow or whatever, so I'm getting ready to scan. I put the gel in the transducer. I'm telling her it's gonna be a bit cold. I put the transducer on her chest, and I'm doing my thing, right? So like 15 minutes in, I got maybe 10-15 shots of what I'm looking for in this particular plane of view for the heart. And she starts to like move around on the bed like she's uncomfortable. So I'm like, hey, are you cool? You alright on this bed? And she's like, yeah, I'm fine. But maybe I should like roll my shoulders like one way or the other. I'm like, alright, whatever, go ahead and do your thing. So while she's doing that, I'm still trying to like find a visual of her heart. But it's different this time, how she's acting. And I say different in the sense that, what the let me get out of here. Let me get somewhere where I can just like sit down and just talk, because I'm trying to like multitask and I'm the worst at it. Somewhere scenic. Let's see. Well, there, her nips did get hard because the transducer gel that I used, it's on her chest, right? And it's like super cold. So they did get hard. But anyway, where was I going with this? So she starts moving around like she's uncomfortable, right? So I asked her if she was all right. She's like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm just gonna move around. I'm just gonna move my shoulders or whatever. So I'm a little bit more comfortable. I give her another pillow so she can put that on her, under her arm, and she's moving around. I'm like, all right, whatever. So she's gonna move. So while she's moving around, I'm not really paying too much attention to her. I'm more so trying to keep the image on the monitor that I had, because it was a nice image. So as she's moving, I'm trying to like compensate by moving one way or the other. And it's kind of funny what she was doing at this point, because it was like every time that I where'd my music go? Every time that I moved my arm, which was in between her breasts on her chest, it's like she would intentionally move her chest forward. She would move it forward so that it just so happened that my arm or my hand was like resting on her breast. So essentially, she was trying to make me cop a feel on her, right? Every time that I moved my arm away, she would like adjust it, like she would like push even more, like her chest against my arm. So essentially, I was like copping a feel when I'm trying to look for her heart. And she did that for like 20 minutes. I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to make the shit awkward. Because if she really wasn't doing it on purpose, it just made the whole scan thing like really weird. She would have got off the bed and I wouldn't have got my practice on, right? So I didn't say anything. I was just doing my thing. So I'm scanning her. The whole process takes another like 20 minutes. Then she's off the bed and she's getting cleaned up. She's wiping the gel off her body. I'm like, and as she's doing that, I'm like thanking her. I'm like, hey, thanks for being a good sport. Whenever you want me to come into your lab so you can scan my legs or whatever, just let me know. Just hit me up. You have my phone number. And it is what it is, right? So I'm cleaning up the bed. I'm cleaning off the transducer gel wherever it got. And I'm cleaning up, like, just getting my area tidy after working there, right? So as I'm doing that, she's like, yeah, whatever, it's whatever, I'll hit you up. And as I'm about to walk out the room so she can finish getting dressed or whatever, she pulls me over and she's like, hey, you were really good, at scanning that heart. I was wondering if I could bring my boyfriend in for you to scan. Now, okay, that was something I forgot to mention. Lala has a boyfriend, and this nigga is, bro, when I tell you this guy is like, have you guys seen Beyond Scared Straight before? This guy is like prison buff. This guy has this, when I tell you this nigga has so many muscles, he has muscles in his upper lip. Like he could flex his lip. He could like kiss a sequoia like a redwood tree. He'll kiss that shit and it would snap in half. That's how buff his lips were. I've seen him before. I've seen him like drop her off before. And it's funny too because he drives like a Prius. And you see this 6'6", this guy's like 6'6", 260 pounds. His body mass index is probably like 1%, so he's all muscle. You see this Prius coming up. You see Lala coming out of the passenger seat, and you see this big ass just tower coming out the Prius, just walking her to the door. So this dude, I forget his name. I was too scared to remember what his name was. But anyways, so yeah, this is her boyfriend. You want to join? You can join if you want. Hold on, let me make this public. So she's like, yeah, if you don't mind, he's been having like chest pains or he's been coughing up and it's like respiratory or something like that, right? So she was like, if you want, I could bring him in for you to scan. Maybe you can get some more practice, and he can kind of get an idea of what his heart looks like. And I was like, oh shit, I'm about to get my ass whooped. Because you got to think too, Lala is in a consistent habit of doing shit like calling me daddy. She likes to feed me shit. She's like super touchy. You heard about how I just explained how she was like trying to make me cop a feel on her when I was trying to scan her heart. If she tries any of this shit, when this big ass piece of iron comes in and she's trying to do stuff like that, this dude is gonna pick me up by one hand. He's gonna take my pants off. And he's gonna fuck me. That's what he's gonna do. That's what I was afraid of. Cause I was like, I had like prison nightmares when I thought about this dude. He's so big. And bro, I ain't no bitch. It's like I'm not a little guy. I'm 6'1", I'm 240. I got a little bit of muscle on me. I played football, so I'm okay. But this dude, he's like towering over me. When I looked at him, I had to look at him. He was like 100 feet away from me, dropping Lala off, getting out of that Chriis, and I still had to look up at him. Right? That's how big he was. But anyways, this was on this all happened on Saturday. Was this not happen? Yeah, it happened Saturday. So so fast forward to today. Right. No, it did happen today. I'm tripping. No, everything happened today. So I scanned her today, like earlier this morning, and she was like, yeah, that's right, because she was just getting off of work in the afternoon around like 12:30. Yeah, that's right. So I'm like, all right, whatever, I'll scan him, because I wanted to practice, right? I was gonna be scared shitless because this dude is big as shit. He might take something the wrong way and then bend my shit over. But it was like, I need to practice. So I'm like, all right, cool, bring him in. Just let me know what's up. So around like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I get a text from Lala. And she's like, hey, you want to come outside for a minute? I'm like, in my mind, I was like, nope. I don't want to see this dude. And so I'm like, all right, whatever. I met him outside, and we're waiting for this dude to pull up in the Prius. You see the Prius come up, and I'm just like sweating buckets, bro. I'm sweating so hard because she gonna do some shit that's gonna get me in trouble. And then my little butt, in compared to him, is gonna be, it's like pancakes. You know what I mean? It's gonna be bad. That's what I was afraid of. But anyways, he pulls up, he gets out of the car, and he walks up, and Lala introduces us formally, because I never actually got to like say hi to him. I've just seen him out of my peripheral, right? Or I've seen him like drop Lala over off to school. And he walks up, Lala stands in between us. She eventually walks over to her boyfriend, and she's like, Lala, this is Chris. So I swear to God, man, he said what's up to me, and I shook his hand, bro. It's like, I'm not a bitch, but when this dude gripped my hand, I was like, ah! And I had to shake it off real quick so I didn't sound like a bitch. So I was like, oh, I'm like, what's going on, bro? So I shook his hand, and eventually I told him what was going on. I was like, all right, so apparently you've got some chest pains. Lala was telling me kind of a little bit about your background, and if you want, as we're walking down to the lab, you can kind of tell me what you've been feeling, what's been wrong, right? So this dude tells me like, yeah, I've been just having these weird chest pains. It's just happened over the past like couple days or something like that, right? Just unexplainable chest pains. So we get to the lab. I'm telling them basically what I told Lala as far as how these procedures go. Like, I told them, all right, so I'm gonna have to get in between your pecs. I'm gonna have to get in between. I'm gonna have to get like at the bottom of the curve of one of your pecs, of your left side pecs, because that's where the heart sits. That's where the apex of the heart sits. I'm gonna have to look at his look at the heart from what's called the subcostal region. So that means below the ribs. So that which also actually means that I'm gonna be looking at him from. It's more so like an abdominal. You're kind of like approaching it from his abdomen area, and you have to like look up into the chest. And I'm gonna take a look at your aorta, your descending thoracic aorta, which resides kind of close to the neck. So I'm gonna be up on your chest, like close to your clavicular notch, which is in the chest, I guess. You know where your clavicle is? Where the clavicle sits, where your right and left clavicle meet up in the center of your chest. That's where I had to put the other thing. But anyways, so I'm explaining this to him, and he was like, "All right, cool. So does that mean I gotta take my shirt off?" He's like, "Do I have to take my shirt off or what?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you're probably gonna have to take your yes, take your shirt off, dog." And man, this motherfucker takes his shirt off, bro, and this guy is so ripped. He has a 6-pack, right? His 6-pack got a 6-pack. Like he could flex his 6-pack, and each of the individual pecs, they could like flex and they would have muscles in them. That's how buff this dude was, right? So he took his shirt off, and I took this big ass gulp because I was afraid, like, man, I really hope this bitch don't say nothing that's gonna tick him off, because if she does, goodbye, asshole, right? So he takes her shirt off. She's just over there sitting in the back and just like waiting. She's like watching the procedure. I'm scanning his heart. I'm doing my thing. I'm able to get his heart, and the procedure takes like maybe like 40 minutes altogether, because I wanted to double check a couple planes of views just to be safe, because I might have seen some stuff that may have warranted him going to a hospital, but after looking at it some more, nothing was really wrong with him, right? So his heart was okay. So whatever was causing his chest pains, it wasn't something that had to do with like a formation in his heart or whatever. It was either like nervous or like electronic. It could have been something like a nervous system, like a nervous signal being directed somewhere wrong in his chest or in his heart, or it could have been anything else. It could have been like medication or something. And what we're doing here, what I was particularly doing, I'm not diagnosing him for diseases. I'm more so just looking around to see if I could find something, right? And we didn't, so he was okay. And the procedures, again, took like 40 minutes. About 20 minutes in, I have the transducer up to his abdominal region. I'm looking up to look for the apex of the heart, if you know what the apex is. So I'm looking at this. I'm kind of just like making sure everything looks okay. And Lala goes over my shoulder, and he's like, and this bitch goes, "Yeah, so baby, what you think of Chriis? He's doing what he's doing. He does a good job, right?" And he's like, "Yeah, he seems really professional. He seems like he knows what he's doing. He doesn't really seem like the type of person who would be a student. He more so seems like a teacher or something like that, right?" So he was cool about me scanning him. And this bitch goes, "Yeah, man, that's why everybody calls him daddy over here." And I dropped that out. If you could have heard a pin drop. It was like, I dropped that shit so quiet. My mouth was just like open. I was like, oh shit. This bitch called me daddy, bro. And if you would have seen the look in my face as I looked over to him, he just had a blank stare in his face. Like, there's like no emotion. There was no emotion in his face. He just like, he heard her call me daddy. He was like, And when I heard that, I was like, oh my god. Let me buckle up my pants real quick. Let me get ready to get up out of here. You know, but I was scared shitless, essentially. Because this dude is huge. And I'm no small guy neither, but this guy, oh man. But anyway, so I waited a good like maybe 3-4 minutes to kind of like collect my nerves, just to make sure that nothing was going to happen to me. You know, I felt my chest palpitating, making sure I was okay, make sure my heart wasn't gonna like beat out of my chest, and everything was cool. He didn't react to it at first, so I just kept going. And hold on, let me let me put some music on. Fuck. So yeah, we eventually finished the procedure, and I pretty much tell him, just to make a long story short, I told him like everything looks okay from my point of view, but if you're serious about you having these chest pains, you might want to either get an EKG done, consider going to the hospital to get checked up even more so. And man, I cannot find any music. Hold on, looking for But yeah, as he was getting up, I was telling him that I don't see anything wrong, dog. You seem like you're okay. So we're I give him a. Jesus, I'm like, this is the worst. I'm the worst at multitasking. So yeah. He gets himself cleaned up. I clean up the area that we were scanning at. And we're walking him back over to his little Prius. And Lala's with us too. So we're just walking. We're kind of just talking about. He wanted to talk about like how I decided to get into ultrasound. So I gave him that short story. I kind of like bullshit a story. And yeah. We were getting to the front door, right? And we opened the door. Lala, for whatever reason, is just excited as shit. So she's running over to the Prius, like she was about to go. Maybe they're gonna go get like dinner or something afterwards. I don't know. So she ran off, and I opened up the door for this big ass piece of meat, and he walks out, and as right before I close the door back, he grabs me by my arm, and at this point, I'm like, oh my god, I hope he has a condom. Oh my god. And no, he grabs me, right, and he pulls me back over, right, and he yanks me with one arm, and then he puts his arm over my other shoulder, so he's like hugging me, right? He's like, you know, I know what you were thinking, right? When she called you daddy in front of me, you thought I was gonna beat your ass, and I was like, yup. He's like, you know, if you weren't working on my heart, and if Lala didn't tell me all the things about you that she did say about you, I probably would have been all up in your ass. I was like, oh shit. He's like, but I like you. So he let it slide. So I tried to play it off cool because I ain't no bitch, right? I put my arm over his shoulder. Oh god. Oh man. I was like, I like played it off. I'm like, alright, cool, sounds good, dog. Let me know if you have any other issues with your heart. And I went straight to the bathroom and took a big ass piss. Oh shit. That was probably like the first time I was ever like scared for my life. Never in my life have I been so scared of dying than that moment right there. This dude, he yanked me with like so much, he like effortlessly yanked me, and I felt like I was getting punched by Goku. Man, it was that much force. It was just, oh my god, you have no idea. But anyways, yeah, that's the story. The story of me almost getting my shit prison raped. God.